Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for The Zone of Interest.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews. Angry Andy Reviews.
Don't make me destroy you.
So, The Zone of Interest is a historical drama directed and also written by Jonathan Glazer, and it is based around a novel by Martin Amis. It's quite simply a tracking of the daily lives of Rudolf Hess and his wife while they create a dream existence in a house right next door to Auschwitz during the atrocities of the Holocaust. And it's a difficult film to watch, to be quite honest with you. It's a difficult film to watch, not because of any atrocities that you see. In point of fact, you don't really see much of anything regarding what happens within the camp itself, which is even more unsettling. What actually you are presented with is the mundanity of their normal day-to-day lives with and around their family, with this awful backdrop of horror behind it all. And that, for me, is possibly the most disturbing part of this film. It's the fact that this film does play to the mundanity of their everyday lives, the mundanity of their everyday existence, and all without much fanfare, which, you know, considering other films of the genre, other films that deal with this awful subject matter, you would expect, to be presented with a lot of unsettling stuff, a lot of unsettling imagery, but instead you are given their everyday existence, their everyday lives, cleaning up after the children, making dinner, making meals for each other, arguing about having to move elsewhere, family members coming to visit, friends coming having dinner and tea, celebrating promotions. It's bizarre in that regard, and it's equally more unsettling with that in mind. You do hear in the background while normal things are going on, and I say normal in as abject a way as I can possibly present it. While people are having conversations, you can hear, the gunshots and things like that in the distance, and they do sound off in the distance, almost like fireworks. And you can hear people shouting, you can hear Nazi soldiers shouting in the distance and things like that. But all the while we are fixed in amongst this macabre setting of this idyllic family home. The way it is shot, this film, is quite incredible to keep it within that, and it plays it very interestingly, almost like a sort of like a theatrical set. We have this idyllic garden and then an extremely high wall, arguably like a 10-foot high wall, and just above it we see buildings within Auschwitz itself. We don't see much else beyond that. We do get a few shots when a family member comes to visit. I think it was the mother of Rudolf Hess's wife. She comes to visit, and she sees in the distance the plumes of smoke at night and the fires, and can smell what's going on, and she leaves almost immediately after. So we are presented with with a lot of imagery in that regard, but we don't see anything regards the atrocities itself. There is a moment where we have an extreme close-up of the lead actor in this, Christian Friedel, who is absolutely superb, and it must have been extremely difficult to try and portray such a role. And we have an extreme close-up of him while we can hear some really uncomfortable stuff going on in the background, and we don't shift from him. We keep completely focused on him throughout the entire sequence, as it were, and it's an interesting choice regarding the way this film is shot and the choices made. Not much is sort of revealed about personal motivations and personal feelings, other than when people get angry. So it was a difficult watch. It's a very difficult film. I count myself as somewhat of a student with regards World War II era material, and this, in terms of that regard, was of interest to me. But it was a difficult watch. I must admit, it was a difficult watch. And having visited the place myself, um, a long time ago when I was very young, it brought back a lot of memories of how I felt while I was there. The film shifts right towards the end of the film itself. There is a moment when the central character is coming down the set of staircase and he begins to retch. We don't know why. He begins to retch, and the film cuts to a future setting, and we see parts of what is now the museum at Auschwitz itself displaying a lot of the stuff which I saw when I was there, again, which ruffled up some memories for me. And we see a lot of sort of like well, I don't even know how to describe it. And I'll describe it how I described it when I was a lot younger, sort of like the things left behind by people, which is greatly disturbing. Greatly disturbing than it was back then when I saw it in person, and it even more so on screen against the backdrop of what we see and what we hear throughout the film. And it oddly cuts right back to him as though he's been observing it. Weirdly enough, it's an interesting sort of thing to sort of posit in this film. Has he almost seen the future of what his actions are doing? Well, I'm not sure we quite get to that kind of understanding, but there is that sort of almost acknowledgement as he's looking down the corridor. Has he seen something? Has he felt something? Who knows? But there we go. It's an interesting film to watch. It's very, very slow burn. I will give it that for that matter. And I think that plays into this, this sort of uncomfortable reality within this pretend setting. And it is pretend. They talk about how they're going to create this, build this family home up, and when he gets promoted, he's told to go somewhere else, but she refuses and wants to stay in situ there to build this family home. And it's almost like this weird sort of feeling that they're going to be there forever, and that they'll never leave that place. Arguably counterpointing, the horrors of people going to that place and never leaving. It's a bizarre counterpoint, really. Everything is so beautiful and crisp and pristine, and even though we don't see what's going on in the camp, we know the exact opposite is in the camp. There is none of this cleanness, there's none of this, niceness, this nicety, cups of tea and things like that. There is absolutely none of that. So the film counterpoints against all that, and it's interesting to see this slow burn. And the only reason it's a slow burn is because it is the simple mundanity of everyday existence, like what we do around our own houses. And that adds to the level of uncomfortableness. Did I enjoy this film? Well, that's an interesting thing to really posit. You can enjoy a film, for what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do. Did I enjoy it in terms of entertainment purposes? Not at all, really, but I enjoyed it in terms of what it's trying to convey. The madness, the sheer unadulterated madness of this, and I'll say it again, this complete mundanity of normal life against the absolute misery and horror going on behind these massive walls that you don't see. We only see snippets, like I said, of things that are going on. So with that, I would, it's an interesting film, and I would encourage anybody to watch it who has, a historical mind, who's interested in, the subject matter. From a purely educational point of view, it could be one of those films which is played at schools, further on down the line. How do we get into the mind of these kind of, these actions? Who are these people that were doing these things? And for that reason, I think I would give this film a 7 out of 10, purely based on that. A very, very difficult watch. As you can probably tell from my voice at the minute, it was a very difficult watch. I would recommend you seek it out, though. It counterplays, like I said, a lot of the other Holocaust-related movies out there, and it will be up there, in the pantheon of those kind of movies. So, an interesting watch, difficult watch. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave this review there. If you enjoyed this review, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this. And I will see you on the next one. Let me know in the comments section. What did you think about this? Have you seen it? What are your thoughts? What did it stir up for you? All right. Bye-bye.